Have you ever had a traumatic experience in your lifetime? Yeah, I know, we all have. My original intention was to make this video a brief 10, maybe 15-minute video on the traumatic experiences that I've had in my life so I can show the contrast on where I came from and what I've gone through to get where I'm at. However, I'm shooting this intro after beginning the editing process of that intended short video, and it took me over 30 minutes to film, almost 40 minutes to do. So I'm shooting this intro after to come back and say, I'm gonna break this video up into 2, probably 3 different videos. And it's crazy because the video I shot is pretty much a brush through of all the traumatic things that I've gone through, so I can show you guys where I'm at and where I'm headed with the goals that I've set for myself, to give some people some inspiration that they might get through some tough times, or they might be able to handle the tough times that have happened to them in their lives. So it is morning time here, and I'm actually getting ready for a business class that I'm taking. Now, the reason I start out with that is because as you've seen in some of my other videos, gratitude is very important in my life. And I've recently made a decision that I am going to begin everything I do with gratitude and end everything I do with gratitude. Now, we can't always be grateful 100% of the time. If we could, this world would be a much better place. However, I can control the beginning and the end of situations. So I've found it key in my life that if I begin and end with gratitude, I'm in a better place. Now, things that happen throughout the middle, sometimes we can't control every possible outcome of every situation. But let's try to start and end with gratitude and see where we go from there. Because I'm extremely grateful for where I am in my life right now. I don't have a whole lot, but at the same time I do. Because I remember where I came from and how struggles used to be really prevalent in my life. I used to struggle a lot, not just financially, but mentally and emotionally. And I had a rough start, so it's not all my fault for that. There is a lot of things throughout my life that were my fault. However, there's a lot of things that happened to me that gave me a bad start. So that's the reason for this video. Now, if you've seen the other video, you'll know that I've already mentioned that this is going to be a more negative video, and I've actually been struggling to even post this video or make this video for a long time. I've touched on a couple things, and I've actually gotten positive feedback, which has pushed me to do this video. There's people out there that relate to some of the things that I'm saying, especially when it comes to mental health and struggling, or traumatic past incidents, or living in a broken home, or coming from any type of traumatic situation that has hindered their progress throughout life, and it makes it hard for them to live with certain aspects of everyday life. So just to begin with gratitude, like I said, I'm getting ready at about 10:30. I need to be done and ready and set up for my business class that I'm taking, and I'm super excited for. It is a business class and I'm learning a whole lot. The instructor's great, her assistant's great, the other classmates are great. Like, everything about it is awesome, and I've met some really great people in this course. So I'm extremely grateful for that, and I'm extremely excited to be involved in it. No one in the class knows this yet, and I haven't even told the instructor this yet, but I almost didn't do this course. The only reason that I'm doing this course is because the universe, in my other video I said sometimes I feel like the universe is knocking on my head saying, hey, pay attention, dummy. And I actually got the email that I was accepted into this course. Well, the first email I didn't respond to because I had planned on not taking it. I seen it as like a waste of time, that I could learn everything that I was going to learn in this course on my own, because I'm really good at self-teaching myself. I'm really good at teaching myself stuff and learning things by myself. I've always been self-sufficient, so I've seen it as a waste of time. However, the second email saying, hey, you've been accepted into this course, make sure you sign up by this date, came through. I was walking my dog. It came through at 5:55. Now, for anybody who's familiar with angel numbers, you'll know that this signifies a change. The universe, the change in your life, it signifies change. So I knew that, but what's coincidental about the situation is that I actually had brushed up on my angel numbers earlier that day. So I just read an article about angel numbers, and specifically 555, that morning. So I felt like that was a pretty big, a pretty big knock, like, hey man, pay attention, this is what you need, this is where you need to be going to make change happen in your life. So I did. I signed up for it. I was actually a little bit leery of that because of the situation I'm in with finances and my living situation and being a single father and all those other things. Now, this video, I'm going to try to make it a shorter video, of course, maybe at least 10 minutes, but there's so much that I want to touch on, and I'm going to kind of brush through everything. So if you relate to anything, of course, always, if you relate to anything or you find value in anything I've said in my video, leave a comment below. And on top of that, if I say something or I brush over something that you're like, hey, I want to know more about that situation, leave a comment below. I will get back to you. Everybody that comments on my videos, you get a reply from me. Also, please leave a like, especially if you found value in this video. Leave a like below, and of course, subscribe to my channel. So this channel is something that I'm putting my heart and passion into. I'm going to get better, and I would love for you to join me for this journey. Thank you for being here. I'm thankful for where I'm at. I'm thankful for this business course that I'm excited to be a part of, that I'll be starting here shortly. We're halfway through, and I've learned a lot of great things. So that's I'm very grateful for that. Now, for the negative. So I had a rough start. In the beginning, I was the only son of a single mother, too young to know that she was crazy. I didn't know this. I love my mom. Everything was normal to me. I was growing up, and I didn't realize until I was older that the things that I seen as normal back then were not normal, not in the least. So to brush over the situation, my mom remarried. I had a stepdad. I was adopted, given a different name. However, the main part I want to touch on is in the 5th grade, my mother sent me to a children's hospital to have me evaluated. And I have no idea why this was happening. I actually didn't even question why I was so young. So I just, actually it was almost kind of like a vacation with me. There was other kids. I got to hang out and play with other people. We had arts and crafts day. The point is that I was being evaluated because my mother was saying that I was a horrible kid. The result to that was, and I was there because I remember my mom arguing with the doctors when, they got the results from my evaluation, that I was a great kid. That was actually, everyone loved me and I was a good kid. I was a little hyper, but that was it. She didn't like that information. Again, none of this made sense to me at the time until later on in my life. By the way, when I was in the Fox Run Hospital, it was called, when I was there, I was visited by my aunt and uncle, my adopted aunt and uncle, and my homeroom teacher from school visited me twice. My mother visited me one time. That, of course, caught my attention later in life. I didn't think nothing of it back then. So I come home. I come home from the hospital, from being evaluated, and everything goes back to normal for 3 months. I come to homeroom class in the 5th grade after 3 months of being out of the hospital. And my homeroom teacher says, hey Brian, come with me. She takes me down to the office, and there is a social worker waiting for me. She picks me up and she takes me to a children's home. My mother wiped her hands clean of me, never said goodbye, never told me what was going on, never gave me any hint or clue that this was happening. And I don't even understand. At the time I didn't understand it. It was just a change for me. And again, I'm trying to brush over this. So it was a big event in my life that probably deserves a video on its own, but I'm just going to brush over it and try to remain positive through saying some of this saying and push through this video. So like I said in the last video, that is the main purpose. I feel like the more positive I can stay while saying some of the things that have happened to me, the better I'll be, and the more I can consider it a win. So that's kind of my goal in this video. I go to St. John's Children's Home. I'm there for a few years. At one point, and I didn't know this because when I was at St. John's Children's Home, this is in the 80s, the psychiatrist actually prescribed me Ritalin. I didn't need it. They said I was ADD and I needed Ritalin, so they gave me this medication. Back in the 80s, especially at that time, they were handing it out like it was candy. And of course, you have to remember, and throughout these stories, that I was in the state's care, and everybody I ever seen, dentists, eye doctors, psychiatrists, they were getting paid by the state. So I did not need this medication and was given Ritalin at a young age. And that's important because that will play into what happens next. I didn't know what happens next until I was 18 and was told by my aunt during my time in St. John's Children's Home my stepfather, not my real father, not my real mother, my stepfather comes and signs me out of the home. This is all fuzzy to me because of the Ritalin incident, but I don't really remember that too well, so I was told by his sister, my aunt, years later when I was 18. Remind you, I'm like 9, 10 years old at this time. He comes and signs me out of the home, and I'm living with him for a few months, and I'm not sure how long. The gist of the story is that eventually he went back to my mom, and when he went back to my mom had one condition. I had to go back to the home. So she still did not want me in the house. Thankfully, my adopted grandparents and my adopted aunt on my stepdad's side stepped in and said, "You're not sending that boy back to the home, we'll take him." The major thing to know in that is that when I went to live with my grandmother and my grandfather, my grandmother was old-fashioned. She said this boy doesn't need no medication. She threw it in the trash. That's the absolute worst thing you could do with someone who has been on Ritalin. You need to wean off of Ritalin. It builds up in your system and it needs to be weaned out of your system. So I had an adverse reaction to that incident, and I do not remember the 7th grade at all. Like I have no memory whatsoever of this time, and I didn't even know this until all this was brought to my attention when I was 18 years old by the same man. Not only do I not have no memory of this time, but a lot of things happened during this time that I had to be reminded of years later that I would have swore that never even happened. I actually had some violent tendencies during this time, and such a huge change that eventually my aunt and grandmother took me to the psychiatrist that I had originally seen, and then it was discovered that what had happened. So they put me back on the Ritalin, weaned me off of it, and I came out of what I call the Ritalin cloud, and things started to go back to normal, some semblance of normal for me. However, things had kind of happened during the Ritalin cloud period, the violent tendency period that I had when I had the adverse reaction to being just taken directly off the Ritalin by my grandmother, that they no longer, it was time for me to move. In their eyes, it was time for me to move on. So they actually, at this time, I go to live with a family that used to babysit me when I was just a little kid, the Ritters, and they took me into their house. Alright, that wraps up the end of part 1 of this series. We've covered a lot in a brief period of time. We've brushed over a lot. Bear with me. If you found any value in this video or you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave me a comment. I will get back to you. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I appreciate the support. Share this video. You never know who will find value, who will find some inspiration in the words that I've spoken today. Of course, check out the next video in the series. I'm dropping videos every Wednesday at 8:10 p.m. There's a reason for that. If you don't know that reason, go back through some of my videos, see if you can find it. Videos every Wednesday, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time. The next video in this part of the series will be coming out next Wednesday, 8:10 p.m.